Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of SU Coach Corner. I'm here with head women's basketball coach Jim Reed. Now, Coach, a young team returning after only losing two seniors, Janeda Williams and Carrie Zelenak, from last year. And you really only got one senior on the roster right now. Who look to be the ones coming back to fill those holes that Janeda and Carrie are leaving now? Who are going to be the ones filling that hole?
Well, yeah, I think we've, over the last few years, been strong at guard. And Nikki Camara, who was first-team All-Conference last year, we expect a great deal from her, both ends of the floor, all the intangibles. She's one of those kids that fills all the stat columns. I think you mentioned one senior. I think Sophie Shedler, like Janeda last year, Sophie has had a particularly good start to this season in both scrimmages as well as our practices. And we returned her sister this year, who's a sophomore, Angie Shedler, who was the Rookie of the Year last year and made the third most threes in the conference. So, you sort of look at those kids as you have an expectation of them every game that they're going to be really front players for you, going to provide scoring, going to be leaders for your team. But in terms of actually replacing Janeda, who was a small forward, we had a freshman, Alana Wilson, who we were really high on. Unfortunately, Alana's going to miss this year with an injury.
Okay.
So the question was, okay, we're our leading scorer and the person that made the most threes in the conference last year, where are we going to fill that? And I think that's going to be a group, really, of people that are going to be able to do that. I think our post players this year, Courtney Adams, Nicole Galt, and freshman Maddie Rocco, have really stepped forward. Courtney and Nicole, in stepping forward from already being here previously, they look like different players this year. Courtney was a freshman last year, and so she gets it now, and she's playing at a much higher level. And Nicole has really gotten herself into great shape this year and is really playing well. And then Maddie, she's a freshman. She's 6'2", but she's learning the ropes. So I think the group of them will provide some of that makeup for what Janeda provided. And then also, really in general, all of our sophomores have stepped up this year, and I'll pick out two kids in particular, Megan McFadden and Holly Crossan, I think have played particularly well. And they're the classic Division III tweeners, like small forwards, power forwards, who have perimeter skills. And I think all those sophomores that were freshmen last year, I think are going to contribute more and fill that void that Janeda left.
Now, with the youth that we've been talking a lot about, they have a good amount of experience. How important are they going to be as leaders for these freshmen coming in and really teaching them the ropes?
Well, it's really important to have good leadership on your team. And our captains this year are Nikki Camara and Sophie Shedler, a senior and a junior. Of course, Nikki is an all-conference player, and Sophie's a senior. I think Nicole Galt also, who's very vocal in a very positive way, provides a leadership from a verbal standpoint at the highest level of anybody for our team. So I think we're really looking at those three kids to lead us forward in providing that leadership and people that have had experience in college basketball.
Now, your team will partake in two early season tournaments, including the Pepsi Tip-Off, which is held here at Susquehanna. How important are those early season games before you get into conference play to really see your strengths, your weaknesses, and really get into the rhythm of the game before you get those really important conference matches?
Well, they're really important. You're establishing, exactly who's going to be filling what role. We've had two scrimmages, but in terms of game, situations, who's going to score, who's going to be able to defend, who's going to rebound, who's going to fulfill those different roles. Key subs, players coming in off of the bench to make big contributions. So some of that remains to be seen. And of course, as you start your games, and things can change, throughout the season as well. But we start in Messiah's tournament, which is really big, and we're playing Messiah the first game. And Messiah is always a team in women's basketball in our region to be reckoned with. And year in and year out, they're a very strong team. They're athletic. They have skill. And so that'll really provide sort of an introductory benchmark for where we're at. But in terms of our team goals going forward also, we'd really think we can contend for a conference championship this year and an NCAA tournament berth. And, of course, when you get down to the end of the season in regional rankings, the committee looks at how you've done head-to-head against teams in the region. So that sort of adds a little bit more significance to the Messiah game because they're one of those teams that's always in there. And when they get down to the end of the year and you look at head-to-head against some of those quality opponents, Messiah would be, a team that with a win under your belt against them would be a real bonus in your consideration.
Now, looking at the preseason polls, you guys were picked fourth, a very tough conference it looks to be this year. Who are the teams you're going to have to watch out for that could really make a move, or do you have to watch out for those top three that might be in front of you and maybe have to pull off an upset here or there?
Well, I don't know that, there's no real weak teams. Goucher, who was a lower team in our conference, has a new coach this year and a very good coach and a good guy. So I'm sure that he's going to get them going in a positive direction. But, Catholic was number one in the polls. They have 21 kids on their roster last year with no seniors.
Wow.
So they were picked number one, obviously.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is we beat them twice last year. So Scranton was picked second. Scranton probably had the most significant losses to graduation of any of the strongest teams in the conference. So, and they have a new coach.
Okay.
And so there's some question marks there. They're going to be good, no doubt, but I think we have a real opportunity there. Moravian, they returned all of their starters from last year. They're a strong team, and Elizabethtown was a playoff team last year. So all those games are going to be strong games. But as I mentioned, Catholic won the conference last year, and we swept them. We split with Moravian. We have as good a chance as anybody to have a really successful season.
And like you said before, the goal is not just to get to the playoffs, but really contend for a conference title. What's going to be the one key that you're looking for out of your team to get to that point, to bring that title back to Susquehanna?
I think the experience and the toughness in close games is a big factor. I think from a talent standpoint, we have some skilled players. We can score the ball pretty well. We've got to defend and rebound.
Okay.
I think our transition game will be as good or the best in the conference. I really think we can get out there and play in the open floor with the guards that we have and the shooting ability that we have. But, in tough games, you got to be able to get some stops, and you got to be able to get possession of the ball. So we've got to do those two things, to really, have a chance at that conference title. And then just the competitive toughness when it gets down to the nitty-gritty in those tough games. We need to be able to step up and make the key plays.
Coach, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and we look for big things for women's basketball this year.
Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate it.